So, imagine being a 13-year-old girl, and you're basically told that your childhood is just over.
Right. Just completely over.
Yeah, because it's your grandfather's dying wish
Mm.
that you get married. I mean, try to imagine waiting 6 whole years for a husband you don't even know.
You'd just be, romanticizing a ghost at that point.
Completely. And then, picture being stranded in this terrible storm. You get into a stranger's car for safety by complete accident, only to realize that stranger is your husband.
Oh, and it gets worse.
Right. He is currently on his way to divorce you.
I mean, that is just the sheer scale of the dramatic irony we are looking at today. It's a really brilliant collision of traditional family obligation and modern individual autonomy.
It really is. Welcome to this deep dive, everyone. Our mission today is to unpack this incredible story of Shahnawaz and Sohana from our sources.
Yeah, we're going to explore how a really serendipitous torrential downpour completely derails this cold administrative mission of rejection.
And transforms it into a journey of intense and unexpected love.
Yeah.
So put yourself in Sohana's shoes for a second, just to really feel the stakes of this scene.
Oh, absolutely. The stakes are so high here.
You have just finished your final college exams, right? And the city is being completely overwhelmed by this massive thunderstorm.
Roads are flooding, signals are dead. It's chaos.
Complete chaos. Your phone battery has died, your driver hasn't shown up, and you are just shivering under a tree, getting absolutely drenched in your uniform.
The vulnerability in that opening image is just palpable. Being stranded in an unfamiliar part of the city, cut off from communication, it taps into a really universal anxiety.
Oh, totally. I get anxious just thinking about it.
Right. But it also strips away all the societal insulation. Sohana is reduced to pure survival mode, which makes her next interaction so compelling.
Yeah, because out of this chaos, a sleek black car pulls up. The man inside sees this young woman shivering in the rain and rolls down his window to offer a lift.
And this man is Shahnawaz.
Exactly. He is a high-ranking superintendent of police, an SP. He's built this really successful, powerful life in the city.
And crucially, he happens to be Sohana's estranged husband.
Yes, actively driving out to their ancestral village to hand her divorce papers.
I mean, the physical storm raging outside that car is nothing compared to the situational storm inside it.
No kidding.
He has spent 6 years building up this stubborn resolve to end the marriage. He views it as like a chain around his neck.
Right.
Yet the very first obstacle blocking his path to freedom is the exact woman he is driving out to reject.
And the craziest part is, neither of them has any idea who the other person is.
It's wild.
We transition from this freezing wet street into the warm, dry interior of his car. He turns on the heater and is immediately struck by her spotless, innocent beauty.
But to him, she is just a stranger in need of help.
Right, so he asks where she needs to go, and she names the Haveli, the large ancestral family estate out in the village.
Which is precisely his destination. However, his law enforcement background kicks in, and he informs her the roads to the village are completely flooded.
Impassable. So Sohana demonstrating a lot of cautious self-awareness, which makes total sense when you're a young woman in a stranger's car, pivots to a backup plan.
Yeah, she says her grandmother gave her a city address for her husband, just in case of an absolute emergency.
I love this part. She hands him a crumpled piece of paper and asks to be dropped there instead.
And Shahnawaz looks down at this damp, crumpled paper, and the address and phone number are his own.
Oh, man. He realizes exactly who is sitting next to him.
Yeah, he just smiles, probably amused by the sheer absurdity of the universe playing this joke on him.
But Sohana sees this strange, imposing man smirking at her husband's address, and her defense mechanisms flare up.
Understandably.
She fiercely warns him, "Hey, mister, behave respectfully. I am an SP's wife."
It's just a brilliant display of character. She is terrified, she is freezing, but she summons this fierce, protective loyalty.
Over a husband she doesn't even know. She is using his title, his authority, as a shield against the very man holding that title.
It's incredible.
It's like a blind date where you accidentally get matched with your own spouse, but you don't realize it's them, and you spend the whole time bragging about how great they are.
That is a perfect analogy.
But hold on, I have to push back here for a second.
Yeah.
I am putting myself in her position, and I cannot fathom getting into a car with the man I am legally married to and having zero clue what his face looks like. How is that even possible?
Well, to understand that, we really have to look closely at the backstory provided in the source material. It grounds the melodrama in cultural reality.
Hey, lay it on me.
The nikah, the Islamic marriage contract that legally bound them, took place 6 years prior. Sohana was a mere 13-year-old child.
Wow, 13?
Yeah. The union wasn't born of romance, right? It was essentially forced upon the family as the dying wish of their grandfather.
That is heavy.
Furthermore, there is a 10-year age gap. Shahnawaz was 23 at the time.
The 23-year-old being forced to marry a 13-year-old to satisfy a patriarch's dying wish. That is a really complicated burden.
It is. And Shahnawaz felt entirely coerced. He resented the total lack of agency, the feeling that his life and future were being dictated by ancestral traditions.
Rather than his own choices, yeah.
Exactly. So, almost immediately after the grandfather passed away, Shahnawaz fled the village. He moved to the city, started from scratch, and climbed the ranks to become an SP.
Just completely severed ties with that part of his life.
Completely. He hasn't seen her or even looked at a photograph of her for 6 years. To him, she remained a concept, a symbol of a burdensome tradition.
And to her, he was just a name attached to a future she was told she had to wait for.
Right, so she has just been waiting at the estate, growing up, having no idea what he looks like as an adult man.
Okay, that makes sense. So back to the car. Because the roads are flooded, Shahnawaz decides to play along with the universe's joke and drives her to the address on the paper.
His own house.
His own house. If I'm Sohana, my brain is about to start doing gymnastics. They arrive at this neat, beautiful house.
And the gatekeeper lets a stranger's car right into the driveway without a single word.
Yes. Sohana's sitting there thinking the gatekeeper is terrible at his job.
The confusion must be dizzying. I mean, if this is supposedly her husband's house, why is the gatekeeper waving this random guy in?
And it escalates at the front door. Shahnawaz simply pulls a key out of his pocket and unlocks it.
Exactly the kind of detail that makes the suspense so good.
They step inside, and Shahnawaz finally drops the act. He reveals who he is.
And Sohana is in total disbelief, obviously.
Right. So to prove it, he gets Daddy, their grandmother, on the speakerphone. Daddy is absolutely thrilled.
She had been worried sick because Sohana was missing in the storm.
And finding out that Shahnawaz is the one who rescued her? To Daddy, it's a literal miracle.
Yeah, but while that phone call validates the reality for Sohana, notice how it strategically traps Shahnawaz.
A good point.
He is now locked into the narrative of the rescuing husband. He cannot possibly tell his overjoyed grandmother his true intentions.
That he was actually on his way to sever the family ties.
Exactly. Not while the girl is standing right there soaking wet.
He is completely cornered by his own rescue. So Shahnawaz tells Sohana to go freshen up and gives her some of his clothes to change into, since her uniform is ruined.
And we get this really vivid cinematic image from the sources here.
Oh, the oversized clothes.
Yeah, she comes out wearing his oversized white shirt and black trousers. She is practically swallowed up by the fabric.
It physically highlights her vulnerability, and her intrusion into his intensely private space.
It really does. And then Shahnawaz leaves the room to sort some things out, leaving her alone on the sofa.
And this quiet moment is where the narrative sharply pivots. We go from a serendipitous romantic reunion into just devastating psychological heartbreak.
It is the absolute breaking point of the story.
So Hannah's sitting there, still feeling sick from the rain, and she notices a piece of paper that had slipped out of a file left on the couch.
She picks it up.
It is her divorce papers.
We really need to pause here and examine the magnitude of this psychological blow. Consider the foundation of her entire adolescence.
Right, the last 6 years.
For 6 years, she grew up romanticizing this absent figure. She built her entire concept of the future, her identity as a woman, around the idea of this man returning for her.
And in a fraction of a second, that entire foundation crumbles.
The emotional whiplash is brutal.
She goes from the absolute relief and joy of miraculously finding the husband she's been waiting for to the horrific realization that he only returned to throw her away.
The trauma of that realization is so intense that her physical state actually mimics her emotional one.
Yes, her fever spikes dangerously high, and she literally faints from the heartbreak right there on the couch. We need to talk about that physical collapse. She doesn't just cry, her body shuts down. What is actually happening there?
Well, what you were describing is a severe psychosomatic response.
Okay, break that down for us.
When the brain encounters a reality that completely shatters a deeply held foundational belief, it essentially pulls the fire alarm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the cognitive overload is just too much to process. The central nervous system gets flooded with stress hormones. The fight-or-flight response short circuits.
Because there's nothing to fight and nowhere to run.
Exactly. And the body simply collapses under the weight of the emotional trauma to protect the mind.
It is like spending 6 years building a house and watching it burn to the ground in a single second.
That's exactly what it is.
But let's look at this from Shahnawaz's side, because I struggle to understand his mindset here. He just met her. He saw she was beautiful, innocent, fiercely loyal to him in the car.
Right.
Why did he still have those papers ready to go? Why not just tear them up the second he realized who she was?
That touches on a fascinating mechanism of human psychology, cognitive dissonance, specifically regarding our own ego and identity.
Okay, how so?
Shahnawaz is not a villain. He is a man who had his choices stripped away. For 6 years, demanding this divorce wasn't actually about rejecting Sohana as a person.
It was about reclaiming his autonomy.
Exactly. Ending the marriage was a foundational pillar of his independence. It takes a massive shift to abandon a 6-year ideological rebellion just because you find the person attractive.
Ah, I see.
His pride simply wouldn't let him pivot that quickly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
He was fighting the institution of the forced marriage, but she was the collateral damage of his rebellion.
Precisely.
So Shahnawaz walks back into the lounge and finds her unconscious, burning up with a severe fever, with the divorce papers gripped tightly in her hand.
The guilt has to be instantaneous and overwhelming. He realizes his carelessness with that file has caused this immense visceral suffering.
As law enforcement training kicks in, he acts quickly, calling a doctor to the house.
The doctor administers an injection, prescribes heavy medication, and warns that if the fever doesn't break soon, she will need to be hospitalized.
It's really serious. Shahnawaz spends the next few hours sitting by her side, putting cold compresses on her forehead, making soup. He's genuinely terrified for her health.
He is caring for her, yeah.
But when Sohana finally regains consciousness, she is not looking at him with gratitude.
No, she is furious.
She looks at the man who's planning to discard her, and she wants out. She demands to be sent back to the estate immediately.
The physical storm outside, however, is still raging. He tells her it's completely impossible to navigate the flooded roads in the dark.
Which leads to the absolute climax of the night. Out of sheer spite, profound heartbreak, and a feeling of complete suffocation in that house, Sohana runs out the door.
Right out into the pouring rain and the lawn.
The rain is such a brilliant recurring motif here.
It really is. It was the chaotic force that forced them together in the car, and now it provides the dramatic backdrop for their lowest, most raw confrontation.
Shahnawaz is terrified her fever will spike again. He sprints out into the downpour after her and furiously pulls her against his chest, physically restraining her from running away.
And that's when she completely breaks down.
She cries against him and delivers this massive emotional gut punch of a line.
Oh, this line is devastating.
She tells him, "I didn't even know what Nika meant when I was 13. But I spent the last 6 years praying for your return, and my reward is you bringing me a divorce."
That specific confession is the fulcrum of their entire relationship. It is the moment the abstract principle becomes agonizingly real for him.
Is this the moment his pride finally shatters?
Unequivocally. Listen closely to what her words do. They strip away all his righteous victimhood.
Wow. Yeah, because he had framed this divorce in his mind as a heroic act of reclaiming his freedom.
Right, freedom from an oppressive family structure. But her vulnerability forces him to confront the human cost of his so-called heroism.
He realizes he had been viewing her merely as a symbol of his coercion.
But the person trembling in his arms is not a symbol. She's a loyal, deeply hurt young woman whose heart he actively broke.
That realization completely dismantles his years of built-up resentment.
It's like his ideological rebellion just washes away in the rain.
He realizes the massive mistake he has made, but the damage is already done. She pushes him away and goes back inside.
So he physically restrains her from running into the storm, but internally, the trust is broken.
The question is, how do you face the daylight when your entire 6-year plan has just been washed away? Let's look at how this plays out the next day.
The transition is stark. The physical storm has passed, the sun is shining, but the atmosphere between them and the car is suffocating.
There is an incredibly tense, awkward silence. They drive back to the Haveli, the family estate, and they don't say a single word to each other the entire way.
Not one word.
When they finally arrive, Shahnawaz turns to her and quietly tells her to hide the divorce papers in her bag. He says, "Daddy doesn't need to know about this right now."
Consider how ambiguous and terrifying that instruction is for Sohana.
Oh, completely.
Does he mean he's hiding it temporarily just to protect his grandmother's feelings before dropping the bomb later? She has absolutely no idea where she stands.
They walk through the doors, and the family is overjoyed. It has been 6 years. Daddy is practically weeping with happiness at seeing them walk in together.
And then Daddy drops a massive new bombshell.
Caught up in the joy, she proposes they formally set the date for the Rixati for next month.
And for those listening, the Rixati is the formal public ceremony where the bride officially moves into the husband's home.
Right, it marks the true beginning of the marriage in the eyes of the community.
This is the ultimate test for Shahnawaz. What does he do?
He just smiles and agrees. He says, "Whatever you wish, Daddy, I'm ready for the Rixati."
And Sohana's standing there completely devastated.
Based on everything she knows, this is a cruel, humiliating fake-out. She assumes he is just playing along to save face in front of the elders.
And that he is going to quietly divorce her the second the public spectacle is over.
Her assumption is entirely rational based on the evidence she possesses.
She literally has his signed divorce papers sitting in her bag.
Exactly. So she reaches her absolute limit with the charade. Later that afternoon, she storms up the stairs and barges right into his bedroom to confront him.
The source material paints a very specific, almost romance novel picture here.
It really does. She bursts in, and he is standing there shirtless. He's this imposing, physically fit law enforcement officer.
And the sheer intimidation factor makes her instantly lose her nerve. She tries to turn around and run away.
But he intercepts her. He traps her in his arms, securing her by the waist, physically preventing her from escaping the conversation they desperately need to have.
Yeah, she is begging him, practically in tears.
She pleads, "Please stop this drama. Don't make a massive public spectacle of the Rixati just to divorce me later. Have some mercy and just end it now before the humiliation gets worse."
And this is the moment Shahnawaz finally drops every single guard he has left.
It is his moment of absolute unvarnished truth. He holds her tight, but tenderly, and he confesses everything.
He admits that, yes, his absolute plan was to come here and divorce her.
But he tells her that in just those 2 short days, she completely flipped his entire world upside down. He apologizes for his stubbornness, for the pain his plans caused her.
He admits he couldn't stop himself from falling for her.
And he whispers that he absolutely cannot wait for her to enter his room as his bride next month.
It is a stunning psychological reversal. He transitions from being a boy running away from a forced responsibility to a man actively choosing and claiming his wife on his own terms.
I mean, it's incredibly romantic, but I have to playfully critique his communication skills here.
Oh, absolutely. Go for it.
Why on earth did he make her sweat and suffer in silence all day? They had a whole car ride. Why not just tell her in the car, "Hey, I tore up the papers. I am in love with you"?
It is a fair critique, for sure, but it speaks perfectly to his character profile. Shahnawaz is a man of action, a law enforcement officer.
Right. He's used to calling the shots.
He is trained to enforce outcomes and secure perimeters, not necessarily to articulate his vulnerable feelings on the fly. He likely felt an intense need to secure their future publicly first.
By agreeing to Daddy's timeline for the Rixati in front of everyone.
Exactly. He locked the reality of their marriage in. Only after that public structure was undeniably secure did he feel safe enough to privately disarm Sohana's fears and explain his heart.
Wow, that completely flips the perspective. He had to publicly undo the 6 years of rejection before he could privately address the heartbreak.
Perfectly said.
So when we zoom out and look at this entire incredible arc, from a cold, calculated plan for divorce, carrying literal paperwork thwarted by a flooded road, to a passionate reconciliation born of forced proximity, what is the core takeaway?
The overarching insight here is the profound, almost terrifying power of unexpected disruptions.
Yeah.
We spend vast amounts of energy trying to control our personal narratives. Shahnawaz thought his independence was his greatest achievement. He had the career, he had the plan, he had the papers.
But his rebellion became his own kind of cage.
Exactly. He was so obsessed with not being controlled by his grandfather's ghost that his stubbornness blinded him to the reality right in front of him.
The universe, in the form of a rainstorm and a dead phone battery, forced him to stop running and actually look at the human being he was discarding.
It's a really powerful reminder. Sometimes the roadblocks that absolutely ruin our carefully laid plans are the exact things steering us toward what we actually need.
It's true. If it hadn't rained, if Sohana's driver had shown up, Shahnawaz would have driven straight to the estate.
Handed the papers to an abstract concept of a wife he barely looked at.
And walked away forever, thinking he had won.
Precisely. The forced proximity demanded that he see her humanity, which ultimately set them both free.
Which leaves you with a really fascinating question to ponder long after you finish listening. Shahnawaz spent 6 years convinced he was fighting for his freedom by demanding this divorce and rejecting the choices made for him.
But did he actually find a truer, deeper sense of freedom by finally surrendering to the love that had been waiting for him all along?
Does true agency sometimes mean having the courage to completely change your mind when you're faced with new evidence? Something to think about the next time you find yourself stuck in the rain.